figure it out. That's Colin.
That's Shreya.
And we are partners in life
And business. And our business is asset protection trusts, but it hasn't always been that way. We used to practice in different areas of law, and we have been on a multi-year journey to create our own unique law firm, and that's what we're going to talk about today.
Yeah. So anyone who's ever been hiking may be familiar with this joke that no matter how far you are from the top, if somebody asks you how much further to the top, the answer is you're almost there.
So we're going to talk about the journey to the top, and so starting at the bottom, we're going to cover how we saw our mountaintop but didn't know how to get there, then how we made a lot of missteps before getting onto the right path, and finally, how you can learn from our journey to create your own unique law firm. So as I mentioned, we used to practice in different areas, and one of those areas was
Intellectual property. And so I was representing a client, filing trademarks for them, handling their IP portfolio, and they were approached by a competitor at a conference. And this competitor came up to my client and was like, hey man, I really like your branding. Can I create a product with the exact same name and branding as you? And my client, being the savvy business owner that he was, with an attorney in his corner, was like, no, that's not cool. So the competitor went off and did it anyway. He created a website. He started selling products under the exact same name as my client. And of course, my client found out about it. And me, being his attorney and advocate, sent some threatening letters. I shut down this competitor's website. And apparently, this really made the competitor mad.
because before you knew it, a stupid lawsuit was born. So we received our copy of this lawsuit in the mail, and it took us about a week or two before we noticed that Shreya was actually named as a co-defendant in the lawsuit.
I really made him mad.
Yes. I assume simply for being the attorney of record on some of those trademarks.
Yes.
So we got to experience law from the consumer side. And it was a very interesting life experience. So for one thing, it was terrifying that being named in this lawsuit, we were thinking about all of the things that we could potentially lose. Even if this was a stupid lawsuit and it would probably go away, we were thinking on the journey that we had been on to get to where we were, going to undergrad, law school, becoming attorneys, starting our own practice. So to us, we had a lot to lose. And the other thing that was surprising about this was the emotional toll that having this lawsuit hanging over us took on us. As we were thinking about it, as the weeks and months went on, and we would tell our family and friends about this.
Thinking they would agree with how ridiculous the situation
Right?
was.
Yeah, because we're not completely biased. And so we noticed that only one person asked us just what happened. The majority of people, their response was,
What'd you do?
right? Like as if we had done something wrong, and Shreya was just over here being a zealous advocate for her client. But here we were, named in this lawsuit. We must have screwed up somehow. We blew it. So, we were feeling ashamed, and this was really stressful for us. And so, even though we thought we could just answer this lawsuit, it would be really easy, just, write something down. How hard can it be? But there is an old saying
That a lawyer who represents himself has a fool for a client.
So we did what I think 57% of consumers do, as mentioned this morning, and we were hunting for a referral.
Yeah. Well, so first of all, as I said, fool for a client, we were no fools, so I started on this journey of trying to find an attorney for us. It seemed a little bit ridiculous, But I went about it by first trying to decide, well, do we go with like a small firm, maybe a boutique litigator, because that seemed more our speed and probably more within our budget as well. But I had no idea, looking at websites and different law firm marketing materials, how to judge whether one of them was going to be better for us than the other, how, if we would get along with them or not. I mean, we're still trying to run our practice, and I don't have time to necessarily interview all of these other attorneys. So we went with what 57, 59% of consumers do, is we went with a referral. And so my client's big corporate litigator said, I know just the attorney for you. He is a partner at this big time law firm. He's gonna scare the bejesus out of the other side. He like knows the judges. He has so much experience. He's gonna be great. So we hired, dun dun dun, Big Law.
Yes, and it was the big law, big law. You know, imagine walking into this big white marble lobby, white leather couches off to the side. You know, you walk up to the receptionist's mahogany desk, and you can't quite tell if they're talking to you or if they're, you know, talking to somebody else on their little Bluetooth headset. And it reminded me a lot of this lawyer coloring book. I don't know if any of you have seen it before. I know it made the rounds during 1L year, and it's these stereotypical images of attorneys that you are supposed to color in. And the one on the left here has this attorney holding up his suit. It says, "This is my suit. Color it gray, or I will lose my job."
And then, excuse me, on the right is the attorney in his gray suit with a client, and all he seems to value about this client is the money that the client has to spend on him. And you know, when Colin and I saw this when we were in law school together, we always knew that it was not the type of lawyer we wanted to be. But speaking of money, you know, when we went into this big law firm, met with this big time partner, I was really concerned that we wouldn't be able to afford the sweeping panoramic views of Seattle and the Sound. And so I asked him repeatedly, you know, so how much can I expect this to cost? Like, what is the scope here? And throughout the process, I would ask several times, and every time he told me, don't worry about it. And so eventually, I stopped worrying about it. And I was like, man, this big-time law partner is so nice. He's just like working on this case for us, and he told me not to worry about it. I don't know if I can like call him, even though I'm a little bit worried about what's going on in this matter. And you know, long story short, eventually things did resolve themselves. A half-page addendum to an answer was filed on our behalf, and the other side withdrew the case before a judge even saw it. They realized it was frivolous, and we paid our big-time law partner attorney with a big-time wine bottle that was fitting for his station in life, and kind of forgot about it. We picked up the pieces and moved on. Until about 6 months later, when we received a pristine white envelope in the mail with a bill for $13,000.
Apparently that bottle of wine just didn't quite cut it for him. So we learned a lot from this experience. One, we knew we didn't like the big law experience, and we'd always known this and known we'd wanted to do something different, but this really, fueled the fire. And we knew that lawsuits really sucked. I mean, it was a terrible experience to go through as a consumer, and I mean, we're attorneys ourselves, so I can only imagine for non-attorneys it can be even worse. So, got us thinking on how do we create something different, and how do we get someone to walk past those big white marble lobbies to come to us and hire us for their legal needs.
And like I was saying, when I was out there looking for a law firm to represent us, it was difficult for me to determine what the differences were between the law firms that I saw. Like, how do I know which one is for me without calling them and personally interviewing each of them? And so because we couldn't see what we wanted to create out there in the world, we started by looking at outside brands to give us inspiration. And hopefully we could take some of that inspiration from the firm or the brands we like to buy from and translate it to our law firm. McDonald's has already been brought up today, but
And Starbucks.
and Starbucks, actually. So we're in good company. On my way to San Diego, I was in search of a breakfast sandwich, and as I often am. And I walked past several McDonald's in search of a Starbucks breakfast sandwich. Now, why would I do that? They're both very, very similar. They're both little muffin things, processed egg product, processed cheese. They're probably equally good or bad for me. So what does it matter which breakfast sandwich I buy? But in my head, I am not the type of person that buys a McDonald's breakfast. I am a Starbucks person. And some of you in the audience may be thinking to yourself right now, well, there is nothing wrong with McDonald's. Thank you very much. I am not going to sit here and listen to this uppity Starbucks person tell me about breakfast sandwiches or the law or anything in between.
And I could care less about breakfast sandwiches. I don't even eat breakfast. But what I do care about is my outdoor gear and apparel. And when I first moved to Seattle from the high deserts of New Mexico, I quickly found myself in need of a good rain jacket. So I did what I normally do when I'm going to go out and make a purchase, started doing my research, looking at the specs, watching those unboxing videos, just learning all I could about who had the best jacket for me. And they're probably all very similar from these different brands, but there was one that was really singing to me, and that was Patagonia. Right? I loved their history, their stories, their mission statement, the pictures of these youthful people running up to the top of mountains. And so I decided I had to have that Patagonia jacket. And when I told my roommate this, I said, I found my jacket, I'm going with Patagonia. And she was shocked because to her, it's outrageous to spend so much money on a jacket when you could get a Columbia rain jacket that would be just as good and it costs half as much.
And I was just glad he wasn't falling in love with like Arc'teryx or Canada Goose or something.
Yeah. Fair enough.
And so we're looking at these brands and we're trying to translate what we loved about them to our own law firm. And so we're at the part of the journey where we made a lot of missteps before getting on the right path.
Yes. So we were not quite almost there. We were trying a lot of different things out.
Yeah, we tried on a lot of different gray suits on our way to on this journey. Whoops, I advanced it too soon, didn't I?
You're doing great, Shreya.
All right, yes, I'm doing great. But we tried the besuited gray suit serious lawyer.
Yes, we tried the funky casual lawyer.
I tried to be a corporate lawyer.
And I tried to be an estate planning lawyer for moms.
But we realized that we were not almost there when we sent out a made-for-you marketing material to our list about Colin's father's death. And Colin's father is alive and well in the mountains of Colorado.
Yes, we were blasting out the wrong message. We were sending out somebody else's story. And so one of the issues we had been struggling with was, who do we speak to and who are we marketing to? I was always trying to get Shreya to choose this, specific avatar, and she just really wanted to send everything out there to the whole world, to whoever, would listen. and I was trying to pick those specific types of clients, but I'd usually maybe pick the wrong one or, change to a new one every 6 months, trying to figure out what was going on. So it reminds me of this quote from Kurt Vonnegut. If you open a window and make love to the world, so to speak, your story will get pneumonia. So Shreya here was out there trying to make love to the world.
And Colin was trying to make love to the wrong person every few months.
It's true. It's true. So we realized again that we weren't quite there, weren't almost there, but still working on the path.
Yeah, so we started a different journey. We were like, we're lost, we're frustrated, we need to do something different.
And so, like everybody else these days, we started a podcast, of course. So we started the Lawyer Human Show. Had a recommendation. If you want to figure out your story, your messaging, just do a podcast every day. 365 episodes, and you will figure everything out. So, of course, we did that.
Kind of.
Yeah. So we got through about 110 episodes, all right? Pretty good. It's like a third of the way.
Yeah.
Before I lost steam and just threw in the towel.
Yeah, Colin, eventually it became harder and harder to schedule with him, even though we lived together and worked together. And
Couldn't find time.
he couldn't find the time to do it. And he just felt like there was no point, and why were we doing this? And so we started down a different tack. I thought maybe let's read books. Let's read all the books on marketing.
All the answers are there.
Yeah, all the answers are there. The stories, this is where we're going to find inspiration strike us. Unfortunately, there's just so much information out there.
Yeah, there's like 2,000 books for sale right outside that door there.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we tried something else. We went on a vision quest. And I think there's some other people who've been on a vision quest in here. And this wasn't the time with peyote and LSD, unfortunately. But it was through Rosen Institute. It was this program that we signed up for. And basically we spent about a month answering all of these different questions about who we are, where we're going, who we want to work with, where we'll be in 3 years, 5 years, 20 years. It's basically an exercise to figure out where we're going, where our vision would take us.
Yeah, and we used the Rosen Institute. You might be able to do this this by yourself, but that's what really helped us to craft what our story was, and we came to realize what had probably been in front of us all along. Is that what makes our story unique is that we are partners in life and business. And that was what people really enjoyed about our podcast as well, was listening to our journey as partners in life and business. Also, that we didn't need to wait till we had $30 million in the bank to do asset protection. We could start doing things to protect ourselves now. And that the podcast was awesome because that is how we realized that people really enjoyed the first one.
Yeah, you can tell Shreya made the slides for this presentation. So yeah, I don't know why we didn't realize it sooner, but the best people who we could help were people like us, right? Other people, partners in life and business, we know the same arguments they have. We know a lot about them. And back when we were experiencing that lawsuit, while Shreya was dealing with the whole big law experience, I was learning more about asset protection and what we could do or could have done to better protect us from the fear of those losses. And nobody wanted to work with us at that time. Basically, every lawyer said, come back later when you've made your $30 million and you're ready to retire, and then you can drop that $50,000 on a great offshore asset protection plan. But like Shreya said, there are things we could have done beforehand, and
we learned that going on this vision quest. So we are at the part of our story where you can learn from our journey to create your own unique law firm.
So I wanted to share a few of the questions that we answered during that vision quest. So see them there, that what's your BHAG? What do you refuse to do? And what kind of people will you need to bring on board to help you achieve your vision? So BHAG is a big, hairy, audacious goal, right? Borrowed from Jim Collins. So it's a clear and compelling goal that serves to unify the whole team in gives you a finish line, basically, about where you're heading. 2 is, what do you refuse to do? So in working on our vision, we get to not do things that we don't want to do, and that feels great. Maybe that's clients who want to pay beer prices for champagne.
Yeah. Or maybe it's the old granny that wants to call you at 2 a.m. to amend her will because she got in an argument with the grandkids. I don't know. Maybe these are clients you want to have, but they weren't clients that we wanted to have.
And finally, who's going to help you achieve that vision? I think in the previous presentation there was a mention of that too. You're going to need other people to help you achieve your goals and make it to that summit. So thinking about who you need ahead of time to be able to help you. I know Shreya's always looking for a very charming Southern grandma that is going to help us.
I love those Southern grandmas. They want to invite you in for some iced tea, give you some fresh baked cookies. Like, that's what you want, when you walk into that law firm, someone to make you feel welcome and at home.
And the other question that's not on here, because I hate talking about emotions, is more emotional.
Secretly a robot.
Yes. Asking, what are you afraid of? What are you afraid will hold you back? What gives you stress? What kinds of obstacles do you think will stop you? So planning ahead on how to avoid those and overcome those and really help you almost get there.
And if you're anything like us, you probably get really uncomfortable and squirmy when talking about those emotions, and you don't really want to expose that side of yourself to your clients. And so you're thinking, that's not really that important, is it? To go into those emotional questions of what makes us afraid and what our fears are. But yes, it is. It is very important because it is proven that people buy solely based on emotion, and then they justify those emotional decisions with logic after the fact. And so in order to better connect with those clients and customers and people out there, it's important to demonstrate that emotion so that they can feel like you really understand them and understand their journey. And I think Erin was talking about this in her presentation about when you create these stories, like you are, and Colin mentioned it also, what do you refuse to do? You're saying no to a whole lot of things. And so that can feel really scary for people. You see the bank account maybe a little bit low, and you want to say yes to everything that comes through the door. But it's really important to say no, and these stories and creating this story is a big part of how you can identify the things that you want to do and the type of people that you want to attract. And I like to think about it like chocolate and vanilla ice cream. And so there are the chocolate ice cream people in the world, and there are the vanilla ice cream people in the world. Now that guy. And if you open a chocolate ice cream store, the vanilla ice cream people are not going to buy chocolate ice cream from you.
No.
And so, but that's okay, right? The chocolate ice cream people will find you, and they'll be like, yeah, this person likes chocolate ice cream just like me. I'm going to buy chocolate ice cream from them. And so that is great. But the real chocolate ice cream fanatics, they're going to look at your generic chocolate ice cream store, and they're going to say, I think this guy is like a chocolate ice cream poser. They don't really care about chocolate as much as I care about chocolate. So what would be even better is if you talked about your journey as you found out about different kinds of chocolate, how you traveled to Peru and visited some farms and picked cacao pods and roasted your own chocolate beans, chocolate beans, and ground them, and then found brought these chocolate beans back to the States and found out different flavor combinations and recipes and perfected your chocolate recipe. And then you blog about it and put it on Instagram and make YouTube videos. And then those chocolate fanatics out there will look at that and say, oh my gosh, this person, they're just like me. They made this store for me. They get me. And all those vanilla ice cream people, they'll look at it and they'll be like, that store, definitely not for me. But you know what? I know some chocolate fanatics in my life, and they're going to love that place. And so they'll tell all their chocolate people about your store. And so even though not everybody is going to be interested in that $300 Patagonia rain jacket, there are going to be enough people out there who are for you to build a sustainable business that you enjoy with people who enjoy working with you and you enjoy working with them. And so we would like to encourage all of you here to go out and build your own artisanal chocolate ice cream store.
Thank you.
Thank you. I don't know if that did anything.
Still up there.
Oh, wait, I guess we have a couple minutes. Did you guys have questions? How do we make use of Instagram? So we do not post anything law firm related on our Instagram. It's all personal pictures.
Wait. But it does include lots of pictures and video from our chocolate farm tour in Peru.
It does. So because of the nature of our business, because we're partners in life and business, and we're marketing to other partners in life and business, we feel that there is a little bit more of a blur between the business and our personal. And so our Instagram is solely personal pictures, though every now and then we'll post like behind the scenes stories or photos of events we might go to. Like we're posting from Clio conference right now. But we mostly actually use Facebook Lives for our marketing purposes instead of Instagram for the law firm. I hope that answers.
I think we're off the hook.
Yeah. All right, thanks.